Welcome back to another podcast episode where we help aspiring developers get jobs and junior developers grow. In this episode, we're going to be reviewing Practicum by Yandex, and they are located in Russia. They have an English version and a Russian version. And I think, do they have any campuses in the United States?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Well, because I know there's an English version. I know there's a Russian version. So Elena went through the Russian version. Julie went through the English version. So they're going to be able to share their perspectives. But like usual, we'll go ahead and get started with our intros. Elena, if you would, when did you graduate? What was your old job before you tried to become a developer? And are you still looking for a position or have you found one?
Okay, so hello everyone. I graduated in February 2021, and actually this was several months later than I should have. This was because of my academic sick leave, because last year I had a problem with my spine and I had some surgical operations, so I had to stop my program and then continue working over my diploma work. So actually, I didn't start the search for my new job yet, because for me now, it's more important to finish my rehabilitation course for my spine. And I won't start searching for a new job before I find a good horizontal workplace for me. So I worked in procurement for more than 12 years for construction projects, and IT field was absolutely new for me. I didn't know what it is. I never met before with programming languages and so on. So when I got introduced to a course, I felt that the program is well equipped, and it helped me to understand what this whole thing is about. Well, that's it. So I haven't found any job because I didn't search for one. But anyway, I have received a few invitations to IT companies that are located in Krasnoyarsk. But as I'm not interested in finding a job right now, I didn't take those positions.
Okay, sounds good. How about you, Julie?
I graduated Practicum in, I think it was January, and I got a job, junior software engineer at Iterative, I think right after I graduated, like a month later. And I didn't have a previous job. This is actually my first job.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Why did you choose Practicum?
Okay, so may I start? There are several boot camps, even in Russia. And first of all, I've seen an advertisement of another boot camp and even did some introductory, not a course, but I visited a webinar. And during the webinar, it was very easy. And then I tried to do my homework to repeat all the actions that the lecturer did during this webinar. And I understood that I just cannot do anything. It's not that easy like I thought it was. So I put everything on a pause. And half a year later, in December 2019, I met another advertisement of Yandex Practicum this time. I checked the website and understood that they have a free training course, which should take about 10 hours for the student to check the program, to understand whether this thing is okay for him, whether it's his cup of tea. And I tried it. I understood that, yes, I think I like it, and maybe I will be able to do this in the future. And I paid for the program. And there is another reason why I've chosen Yandex Practicum, because as you know, maybe Yandex is maybe the major search engine in Russia. It is more famous, I think, than maybe not more famous as Google, because all Russians use the word to Google something on the internet, but Yandex is very popular in Russia. And when you visit their main webpage, you understand that these people know something about front-end, UX and UI design. And I thought that maybe if these people have this webpage and they work and do their work so well, then maybe they have something to teach me about front end. And therefore, I took this course from them, because other bootcamps didn't have such websites.
Okay. So the website really sold it for you. I like that they have the 10 hours as well. Would you add or change anything, Julie, for your experience of why you chose it? Would you add or change anything for why you chose Practicum?
Well, I was contacted by Practicum online asking if I wanted to be a beta tester for Practicum. And so I thought it'd be a good experience, and I was interested in doing real world projects, so I agreed.
Okay. That's something to take advantage of. That's awesome. Okay. Well, what'd you learn? What was the curriculum like?
So the curriculum included 5 major theme segments. It was divided in large segments and in sprints, according to Scrum methodology. Well, you know, when you work in short sprints to try to do everything fast and absorb information as fast as possible. So the sprints were consisting of 2 weeks. When a sprint started, you had some short theory in an online training machine. You read this theory, then you had some exercises, which was that were checked by machine. Then you had some large project, that you started doing in the end of the week, of the first week of the sprint, and you had to send it for code review with a maximum of 4 reviews totally by the end of the next week. And you had this fixed amount of time during which you had to pass code review successfully, and then move on to another theme. We had 5 big courses. First was including basics of HTML5, CSS3. Then we moved on to adaptive and flexible web design with media queries and so on. The third course was about JavaScript. Fourth course was about regular expressions, version control system, Git, Webpack, and so on. And the 5th course was about backend, where we started Node.js, we launched the server, and so on. And then diploma work.
Okay. Well, what do you two think of the curriculum? Julie, we'll start with you, I guess.
I really enjoyed the curriculum. I thought the theory was very well explained. There were only very few moments when I felt lost or confused while reading it. And the, the practice lessons really helped me solidify what I was learning. And then the projects really helped everything come together.
Okay. What do you think of it, Elena? Because you kind of described what it was.
Yes, actually, it was fun. As information was presented in an amusing manner, I would say.
How so?
They used jokes. For example, the text was saying that, just imagine a young developer who's named John. He went to a company and he sees a new task and doesn't know what to do. Help John to solve this problem.
Okay. So they kind of told a little bit of a story with it. That's good. And it's a really hard thing because it's so much to learn when you're becoming a software engineer. And there are a lot of creative ways that you can get people to kind of basically try to keep their attention. What would you say would have been like the hardest part of the curriculum where you might have struggled a bit?
JavaScript.
Okay. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
I thought I will not survive.
Okay. Well, you did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How about you, Julie?
I think mine was back-end and to be more like specific back-end deployment. I really struggled with getting that server running. It felt like I didn't like it. It's hard to explain. It's like when it comes to front end, I can visually see what I'm creating with the code. And I can like console log it. But when it came to back end, it felt like I couldn't see what was happening. I remember struggling a bit.
Okay. What did you use for deployment?
It was like I can't remember the word. It's Microsoft, but I feel like there's an official word. It's been a while. I know we were creating a server.
What was the stack that you learned? It sounded like it was like a JavaScript stack on top of Node, right?
Yeah, it was Node.js.
Oh.
Express.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Express, because that was a...
I guess the program is one and the same, just different languages.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's okay. So if you do remember it, let me know. Do you feel like the program itself was stronger on the front end or the back end?
Well, I believe it's front end because we've spent much more time for front end. 3 courses. It was about maybe six months, I guess, for front end and only 2 months for back end.
Okay. Would you say the same, Julie?
Yes, definitely. I believe that even says that like in the website curriculum summary that they do teach mainly front end and then back end basics.
Okay. So do you feel like you're really comfortable with custom CSS, not bringing in a CSS library and just being able to write vanilla CSS?
Well, actually, I started. Oh God, I forgot the name. Bootstrap. Yeah. How could I forget? So I tried to study Bootstrap 5, and actually, when I tried to work with it, I understood that it's easier for me to write the same thing in CSS and much faster. So I think that yes, the level of my knowledge is quite good in CSS, at least.
Okay. What about you, Julie?
I also did really well when it came to creating things with just CSS. I found, I agree with you. It was really easy to create things from scratch compared to even using libraries because I was so used to it. They did a really good job of helping you do that.
What was one of the more complicated things you coded with CSS? Just vanilla, no library whatsoever.
I believe it was the website with flexible and adaptive design. We had to make it look perfect at every screen dimension. We had to minimize its size and gradually make it smaller and smaller, and at each screen dimension it should look good. The size of the text, of the font, of all the images, they should have become smaller and still good looking. Well, I think that was very complicated.
Okay, what about you, Julie?
I would say that the hardest thing I had to do with CSS was style forms. We had a couple of forms that we needed to style, like, put down your name, email address. And I remember that I think that was the hardest bit when I came to making things with CSS.
What was the framework that you guys picked up on the front end?
React.
Okay. Did they teach Redux with it?
I don't think so. I think it might have been mentioned, but I don't think they taught it.
Okay. When they taught React, did they teach class-based components, functional components? Did they focus on one over the other? Or function-based components?
If I remember correctly, I think they focused on functional components, but they did have a lesson on how to create things with classes.
So in that lesson, did you actually code out a class-based component?
Yes.
Okay. Same with the Russian version?
Our course didn't include the React or Redux or something like that. It was just vanilla JavaScript, and we had we learned object-oriented programming, and we also did some. We also created some components based on the major component, and then created components based on that original component. So we also had components, but nothing with React.
Okay.
Maybe it was introduced later in the program.
You mean
it started off with teaching you JavaScript and object-oriented, and then, well, for me, they did those lessons, and then they went on to teach React.
Elena, when did you graduate again?
In February 2021.
Okay, so it's fairly recent.
You see, the program is constantly changing. And I know that they added some short introductory course to React, but it wasn't included in my program when I started.
Okay. Do you feel like, if you have done research, do you feel like do you have like the most popular front-end framework you would recommend for front-end developers working in Russia?
Well, yes, I think it's React.
Okay. Interesting. Just to be clear, Julie, you graduated in January, right?
I think it was January. It might have been the beginning of February. There was some, I forgot the exact reasons, but I remember there were some issues with some other graduates that caused us to push back the graduation event when we graduated. So I'm not 100% certain what month.
Yeah. I'd be very curious why the Russian version didn't have React, if it's prevalent in Russia.
Maybe it's because Julie was a beta tester, and she tested some modern features of the program, and I wasn't.
Possibly, but it's 2021. They should have had React in their program if they were front-end focused. I'm very curious about the reason of that. They were very much lagging behind. I like that they did teach function-based components in React, and they gave you exposure to class-based. That's really good. So I guess this question is for you, Julie. Did they have, did you learn about lifecycle methods and state and context, stuff like that? What were some of the more complicated things you learned about React?
I feel like we had learned quite a few aspects. We learned about life cycles. We learned about various different hooks. We used in context. We implemented all of those different state context. We implemented all of those in our projects.
Interesting. Okay. I think they're lagging behind. I do. I hope they did implement it in the future versions, because that's incredibly necessary, especially if they're going to be front-end focused. But I'm glad that they're finally introducing it, at least. What do you think of the instructors?
I believe that they should be better. They still need to develop, because they hire people that are good at their work. They are good developers. I'm sure about that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be engaged for this program. And I know that they do some training course for being lectors and mentors on the course. But as you know, being a good professional doesn't mean that you're a good teacher. So I believe they still need some time to get better.
Okay. So are you saying that they hire professional software engineers, but that they need to improve their teaching ability?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. That's good feedback. How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I think you might be right on that part. So I remember correctly, it did feel like they weren't there, to be honest. I mean, it was a remote boot camp, but I don't think I only spoke with one once in my 10-month course. So maybe it was just me. Maybe I'm just someone who tended to be more distant, but I definitely felt like they were distant, but maybe it was just me.
Interesting. How big were your cohorts, your class sizes?
Actually, I don't remember the size of the cohort in the beginning. Maybe something around 80 or 90 people, but by the end it was 30 or maybe 35.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, I've never heard that before.
But let me explain. So the program has strict rules. If the person doesn't comply with the fixed deadline in the end of every large theme segment, this person doesn't pass code review successfully with his project. Then he should take an academic leave to get some more information, and then he returns to another group that does the program later, a bit later. So there is a maximum limit for such academic leaves too. If you are not able to pass this program with these 2 academic leaves, then you are expelled.
Okay.
It's tough, but it's fair, I think.
What about you? How big was your class, Julie?
I do not remember how big my class was. I didn't look down at a list of people that were part of my group, unfortunately. But I do remember that I graduated with around 10 people, and I do remember people having to move on to another group, or leaving my group specifically because they weren't able to finish the projects in time.
What does it take to get into this program?
You mean something like test?
Yeah, test, interview process.
In the beginning of the course. There is nothing like that. But first of all, you should do this first introductory course for 10 hours. And this is obligatory. So this course doesn't only help you to understand whether this thing is okay for you and you can do this task. Through this, the program also understands that you are fit for this program, because unless you do these exercises in the introductory course, you won't be able to start learning further.
Okay,
and by the way, you can stop your education and get your money back with the deduction of the money that you've spent during the first months, for example.
What about past that? Like, what? Let's say you want to stop the education and get a refund 3 months in. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay, but you just pay the portion that you already took.
Yes, because there were people that spend their time working with you. So I also think it's fair.
Okay. So the beta program for you, Julie, did you have a different type of assessment getting in?
They asked if I could, I think they wanted to make sure I could spot bugs. I think they gave me the introductory course and asked if I could find any bugs, which I was actually able to find a couple. And then they said I could join on. That was all they did. As far as I can tell, you can just, as far as I can tell, there is no interview or anything like that. You pay the money, you can join the program.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Well, that explains why so many people signed up and quit out of it or had to move on to like different delay their education, stuff like that. That's kind of a red flag. They should do a better job of assessing people that come in because when you make an investment, because this is like a 10-month program, right? When you make that commitment to do this 10-month program, and they just let you in, they don't even like really field you out. Now, I can tell you from your assessment as an extremely weak assessment compared to what a lot of other programs do. And so, just imagine the student that's like, okay, I'm setting aside 10 months. Actually, I have one more question. Is this full-time or part-time?
I would say it's part-time. Actually, the program says that you can become a developer only spending 10 hours per week during the next 10 months. But I would say that it's not true. Maybe I'm not that fast as other students, but actually I spent at least 20 hours per week. And there was one sprint for JavaScript where I spent around 40 hours per week, I guess, and I worked full time. So I think that all students that are deciding whether to take this course, they should understand that it won't be 10 hours per week. It will be 20, or maybe for some people 30, because there were students that were slower than I. And I cannot completely agree with you, Don, that they should have some stronger assessment in the start, because this program is dedicated to not only for people that are accustomed with programming, but also to newcomers like me. And they don't require any special knowledge for the start. That's why when they start explaining some basic things in the introductory course, they are really basic, and they are targeted for common audience. But I can tell you that students in my group, they were not only newcomers in IT field, they were also people that used to program something like system administrators, maybe IT workers or backend developers. So the group was mixed, and I think no special assessment is needed in the start, really.
And so when you have a mixed group like that, typically the curriculum and the instruction is designed to catch a lot of people up, and they, top performers might feel like maybe it's progressing a little bit slow. Is there an option to progress much faster, or is it like kind of like compartmentalized, like everyone does this section, then everyone moves on to this section, or can someone just exceed and go to sections early?
No, the program is organized in such a way that you cannot move faster, like in a pre-recorded course. Mm-hmm. But actually, I don't remember any people that had lots of time for some extra education and for moving forward. All of us were trying to keep with the pace.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. And first of all, Elena, kudos to you for doing that full-time job and doing 20 hours on the side. That's definitely a lot.
It was tough.
I'm sure
I wouldn't recommend. Seriously, I wouldn't recommend any other person to repeat what I did, because it's really hard for me, and I had I had to take some vitamins to keep with the pace.
Yeah. And it sounds a little unhealthy, to be honest. And so this kind of just really reinforces, it basically reinforces what I'm trying to get at is, you know, it sounds like it's a mixed class. It's probably going to be hard to have a curriculum that's paced right for everyone, especially if they don't make sure everyone's starting on the same page with the same skill level in the beginning. So they have a weak assessment. And so it sounds like, you know, this is a great program for people that are currently working, but it's a 10-month program. That is huge. And if you're investing 20 hours a week into this program, that's going to be unhealthy. I know people are going to lose sleep. I know people are going to struggle through it. And, you know, they're going to probably develop really unhealthy habits potentially to get through this program where, like, if they just to kind of keep up with it, right? And I'm really targeting like the newcomer that's kind of new to development that doesn't really get weeded out first. So the problem with that is all these newcomers, you know, they're going to do whatever it takes to try to pass. And I just see that as a really unhealthy lifestyle. And I'm concerned for those students. And if they just upped their assessment, if they capped who they were going to let in based on a certain skill cap, it doesn't mean those people couldn't eventually get in. They just might have to do 4 weeks of work or something like that to get their skills up to par a little bit. And maybe they could even launch a course that's much cheaper to kind of get those skills up to par. But, you know, what that's doing is that's letting in students that are just doing everything they can with all these unhealthy habits to just make it through for 10 full months. It's a long time. And like a lot of people are going to struggle both mentally and physically with something like that. So my recommendation is if you say that, Elena, other people, I guarantee you, are probably experiencing that as well. You're not the only one, especially with like 90 people and only like 30 made it. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So the fix for this, in my opinion, is to up their standards with the assessment. It's a simple fix. They might have a good curriculum. You gave good feedback with the instructors, but if they just up that assessment and up the standards, in my opinion, that's going to fix a lot of these issues. But that's kind of just my 2 cents with it.
And be truthful, maybe be honest with the real time that will be consumed by the course, because it's really not 10 hours per week.
Yeah. I was actually one of the fast learners, which makes sense because I did have prior web development experience and I was there as a beta tester, so that makes sense. And there was a couple other quick learners on my end that were able to finish things early. And what they did for us was that we are given bonus projects that we could either work separately or as teams, depending on the type of project. And we would do those extra projects while we waited for the rest of our teammates.
That's at least good that they do that for the higher end of the class. I do like that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Lower end, though, that's, I agree with your previous statements about it.
There were many group mates that didn't work at that time. Actually, I envied them a lot. Some were students, some were maybe housewives or people on parental leave, or just I knew a guy that quit his previous job. He was an interpreter, and he just quitted it, got some savings. And calculated that the savings will help him survive this course and then find a new job. And I really envied those people because they could dedicate all the time that they have to this training program, because I didn't have so much free time. I absolutely had no free time. And this program can give a lot of information, really. It's very rich with information. And I know that if I didn't work at that time, I could take much more knowledge than I did.
Yeah. Well, that's good feedback for them, right? And when I did check out their website, it did look like they were making pretty drastic changes. If you're giving this feedback now, like I said, chances are other students have given them that feedback. So I appreciate you sharing a lot of this. When you graduated, did you feel like you were ready or well prepared for an actual professional developer position?
Yes, For the starting position, yes. Actually, many people started searching for a new job, even from the second course of the program. Some people found their jobs in the middle of the program. I know that there were some people that quitted the program because they found a new job and they thought that their initial task was completed. So, and by the way, they have recruitment course, something like that, which helps people to write a good resume, covering letter, to get prepared for the interview, and also pass this course. But as I don't have the intention to get the job right now, so for me, it's not that actual, so to say.
Sure.
I did take that optional course.
Did you feel well prepared, Julie?
I would say, yeah, I think they did. They gave you a lot of information about finding a job and interviewing and like algorithms that they may ask you during interviews. So I did feel well prepared and ready to like ask more questions if needed while finding a job.
Okay. Interesting curriculum. And it does sound, potentially it sounds like the Russian and English versions were a little bit different. But again, that could change depending on recent things that were implemented. I feel like I summarized a lot of what I thought about it, my concerns, and what I liked about it. So what could they do better? What could they improve?
I believe they can train better their mentors, lecturers, so training staff. And maybe introduce something in the course like wide academic leave. For example, my situation was a bit extraordinary as I didn't cope with the program because I was a late learner, but because I couldn't learn. I couldn't sit in my armchair and I was lying all the time, and then I got into a hospital and so on. And in the end, there was a problem for me to postpone the education program to a longer period because the program should change in some time. They are constantly changing the program. So I was told that, Elena, we cannot postpone and move you to the next group because the program will be completely different and it will be hard for you to change the already passed segments of diploma work because everything has changed since you stopped learning. So I believe there should be some special option for such occasions.
Yeah, that's tough if they're drastically changing. Those must have been some pretty big changes. Okay, that's good feedback. How about you, Julie? What could they improve?
I would say that they could improve on, what's it called? Improve more on teamwork, like working with other developers. I felt like for people who are more social learners, this type of remote bootcamp would be more difficult for them, especially because I really didn't feel like I barely got to know any of my teammates. Like we barely communicated really, except for like one or two team projects. I think it'd be cooler to like learn more about the other people you're learning with and communicate more, if that makes any sense.
It does. If you were to put I guess I'm putting you on the spot. If you were to give them one idea of how they could bring developers together, how would that be?
I would say like more maybe Zoom meetings that help discuss certain subjects, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Or just more team projects in general.
Do they do pair programming?
I might have remembered incorrectly, but I think there might have been a brief moment when there was opportunity to pair program, but I remember I was busy at that point in time, so I wasn't able to join on.
Okay.
Well, my experience was a bit different, actually. I communicate with my group mates very often, and actually it was a very close relationship. I know that people that lived in one city, for example, we had lots of people living in Moscow and St. Petersburg. They even met offline and spent some time together even after the end of the course. But unfortunately, I live quite far from those cities. I live in the center of Russia, in Siberia, so I didn't have the opportunity. And we had lots of webinars. I think that it really depends greatly on the mentor. Our mentor was involved in the education process, and he was trying to inspire us greatly. And he used to organize those webinar sessions every week. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to take live part in those webinars because we had 4 hours difference with Moscow. And usually I watched those webinars in being recorded. I watched them the next day after. But actually, this was like a live webinar, but I couldn't type my questions in the chat.
Sure, understandably. Okay, so it sounds like there might be some differences with how the instructors or mentors conduct their classes and how they bring people together as well. And so that's feedback. And I think that's incredibly important, Julie. And even if you're not a social learner or label yourself as a social learner, it still helps to kind of be pushed into that because you need to get exposure with working with other developers. You need to figure out how not to step on each other's toes and help each other out. Like that's what a team's about, you know, when you're a professional software engineer. I think that's really good feedback.
Agreed. I'm actually not a social learner.
Okay.
Found when going into I'm not a social learner. That's why I really enjoyed I did enjoy the bootcamp, but I'm not a social. So, but I did notice heading into the job, I struggled with working with other, that was one of my weak points, working with other developers in team settings. And I realized I didn't get much experience with that at the bootcamp either.
Okay. All right.
By the way,
go ahead.
Our mentor taught us how to ask questions correctly. I believe Julie has also this experience that we had special chats, special groups in Slack, a group for asking questions about exercises in the training machine online, a group for communication within the group regarding the project work. And we communicated every day there. And he told us that, first of all, you should not ask questions like, oh God, I cannot do this thing. I don't know what happens on my screen. Please, somebody help me. You should specify the problem you're working on. Whether this is Sprint 5 or Sprint 6, because there were some latecomers and some people could work over projects of Sprint 6 and some people were still were lagging behind and were still working over project of Sprint 5. So you should write Sprint 5, problem this and that. I tried this option, I tried another option, and I tried to find some information on the web, but couldn't solve this problem. Please, somebody help me. And then students started suggesting various ideas, and actually there was never such an occasion that any student was left with no clue what to do next. But we were trained to learn and to find information ourselves on the web, like in real life, in a real job.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that last tidbit. Thanks.
I also learned about asking questions correctly. I do remember that.
Okay. Good to hear. Actually, Julie, I got a quick question. Maybe I'm just assuming. Is that Is that a Resident Evil background, or is that just like a
It's
beautiful
Doctor Strange.
It's Doctor Strange from the Marvel Universe. Yeah, so I've had a couple of people thinking it was Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I wouldn't have guessed Harry
So people
Potter.
thought it was Hogwarts. And I was like, nope, it's Doctor Strange.
I like it. That's a
Marvel
really cool
Cinematic Universe.
background.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we're ready for our last question. I appreciate you sharing everything with me. I think that was a good summary. I think they're changing rapidly. I get this feeling that they're going to take this feedback seriously. And really, ultimately, like, no program is perfect, right? Every program, as long as they take that feedback constructively and apply it, based on measurable data to see if that feedback's even going to be effective at improving someone's learning. As long as they continue taking that feedback, that's what's important. But yeah, we touched on everything I wanted to touch on. So the bonus question, the final question is, if you had to give aspiring developers advice, what would that advice be? And you could even think back, like, if I were just starting, I wish I had heard this advice a long time ago. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with the coding bootcamp, just in general. What would that advice be? And think about it. Take a minute.
Well, it depends how much money you have and what background you have. Because really, I like this course. I think it's very useful. A month ago, I started a course on Coursera for data analytics prepared by Google. And, it has so many theory, but still, I'm not sure that it will be of great use to me. The reason why I'm trying to develop myself in other fields in IT is because I'm working over my pet project. And I understood that I have to gain more knowledge in data analytics, maybe UX, UI, and so on and so forth. And if I had money right now, I'm not working. I quitted my previous job just because of my spine problem, and actually I'm planning to change my occupation to go into IT or maybe business if I actually manage to complete my pet project. If you have money and you have time, go use this option, go to Practicum by Yandex. This course is really useful. And they have lots of courses, not only web development. Actually, I want to be their beta tester. If God hears me or Practicum by Yandex team hears me, please take me as a beta tester to other courses like project management, UX, UI. They have also social media management and context advertisements and so on and so forth. Guys, I want to check all of these courses. I will find all the bugs. Please take me. So if you have money, you can take this course where all the information is prepared, aggregated in a good manner, and it will be presented to you in such a way that you will consume it gradually and build your knowledge brick by brick. And if you don't have money, you should know that nowadays modern internet and YouTube and various web pages, they have heaps of useful information. We are now lucky that actually we can find just any information we need free of charge, but we shall spend much more time if we do not take a course from a bootcamp.
Okay.
Learn for free or maybe faster, but paying lots of money.
All right. Thank you. How about you, Julie?
I say when it comes to aspiring web developers, I guess I would tell them, or I would tell myself when I was just starting out, is don't give up, even when the things are getting difficult. But at the same time, make sure to take care of yourself. Learning is not something you can do all at once. Take it one step at a time. Take lots of breaks and have fun.
both great advice. I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, that's good. I'll probably clip that, put it in the LinkedIn video. So that's it. That's the end of the podcast. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. So before we do end it, what I'm going to do is you can share your information, website, anything like that. I guarantee you if you do share like your LinkedIn, people probably will reach out to you for questions. That's happened quite a bit. But we'll do our outros. If people want to reach out to you, Elena, where could they reach you?
Well, they can reach me through email, elena.ustujanina, very complicated surname, .rus at gmail.com. They can also find me on LinkedIn. They can type Elena. Should I spell my surname?
What if I linked it in the show notes?
Yeah, okay.
That'd be easy.
Okay, thank you. It will be much easier. Actually, my LinkedIn page has all the contact information that people might need, my telephone number and my email.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. How about you, Julie?
I think the best way to contact me is through LinkedIn. I guess you said you would link the social links. I'm not sure how you'd say it.
I'll make that
And
easy
you
for
can also
too.
contact me through Twitter. I tweet every day, actually. And I think the username is @JulesGalvan. But you can also link that, if that helps.
Okay, perfect. Well, Elena, Julie, stick around for a couple minutes, but thanks so much for coming on and sharing your experiences.